welcome back to Running Geek Girl. My name is Heather and I am glad you're here today. We're going to be talking a little bit about recovery after a race. But first of all, if this is your first video or even your 10th video here and you haven't subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the other running content that I have coming out on this channel. Now, with several races in my rearview mirror at this point, I've had a few people ask exactly what I do as far as recovery. Now, I know a lot of runners are going to approach recovery differently based off of their usual weekly mileage and how far that they run. So it's going to vary a bit from runner to runner, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I do after a longer distance race and even a few shorter distance races, just to kind of let you know my recovery process. We start, of course, with immediately after the race, as in I have just crossed the finish line. That is where the recovery process is actually going to start. And one of the first things that I do is I make sure to get some protein into my body in order to help rebuild some of the muscles that I have strained over the course of the race. Now, a lot of people will also eat after the race. If I've done a longer race, then I will definitely try and find something to eat that has some protein in it. And a lot of times what I'm needing to do is I'm trying to refuel my body with what it actually needs at that moment, not necessarily what I want at the moment. Like I could go for an entire ice cream sundae after a marathon, but that's not necessarily what my body needs. So I need to make sure that I get what my body needs first before I fill in with what I want to eat. So I know that that's going to be a huge part of the recovery process is what's going to happen right there at the end of the race. So what I will try to do is I will try to get in some recovery, and one of my all-time favorites is the Rebuild and Recovery Salted Caramel flavor from Tailwind. I will usually make a shake out of this. I'll pour some of this in the blender with some almond milk and a frozen banana, and it is a wonderful recovery drink that I use after harder efforts, really long runs, and of course after races. It's got a lot of what my body needs in order to refuel and the extra protein that my body is going to need in order to rebuild the muscles that I have damaged over the course of the run. Some people will kind of go more of a food route, and so you'll end up eating like some bananas and maybe some easy proteins like maybe some deli turkey and some cheese, or you go with some sort of a sandwich, something like that. Like I said, everybody is going to eat a little bit differently based off of their needs, but I've just found that that is what works the easiest for me. I don't really have to think about it. I just drink it down and it replenishes everything that I'm needing at that moment. So definitely recommend that. I'll have a link to Tailwind down in the description if you would like to check them out for yourself. Next up is going to be your hydration. Now, obviously, after a long, hard effort, after a long run, or after even a short run where you put more of an effort in to maybe go a little bit faster, especially if you're maybe trying to set a PR on a 5K or a 10K or 1 mile or something like that, you're going to want to replenish anything that you have lost. So you're going to want to hydrate, and you're going to want to make sure that you are replenishing any electrolytes that you have lost over the course of your run. So again, there are a ton of hydration methods out there that will replenish electrolytes. Sometimes it's very easy to just grab something like Powerade, Gatorade, or something like that. You may have something specific that you like to use, such as maybe Liquid IV is one that I've used. Tailwind is another one that you can use, and that one also adds some extra calories and carbs into your system. A lot of people will use that during the run as opposed to after the run, but there's tons of hydration, and of course you can't go wrong with just good old water. Just make sure that you have something that's going to replace those electrolytes as well. Some people will do that by adding something like lmnt. I'll have a link to them down below. I've used them before and they are wonderful for rehydrating, especially if you are a fan of salt, which I am. I love salt. So there's tons of different ways. Just make sure that you are getting adequate hydration afterwards, because you're wanting to replace anything that you have lost through sweat and through effort. Next, we're going to take a look at what you need to be doing with your body in order to help it recover in the days after your long run or your race. And first of all, you're going to want to take a look at stretching. Of course, everybody has different stretches that are going to work for different parts of their body. There are some fantastic stretching programs here on YouTube. In fact, if you look up post-run stretch and like post-run yoga, there's going to be some amazing ones out there. I know that Yoga with Adriene has some really great ones that I have used before, and they're fantastic. So just making sure that you're keeping some of the mobility and adding a little bit of stretch in order to help release some of the knots that are in your muscles without overwhelming your muscles and trying to add any extra effort to them. And another thing you'll be doing is taking care of those sore muscles. And there's lots of ways that you can do this. Now, one of the easiest ways that you can do would be with a foam roller. Foam rollers are relatively cheap. You can pick these up pretty much anywhere. I got this one at Five Below. It ended up costing me, I believe, about $4 just to get this. And it has all these nice little trigger points on it. All you have to do is just lay down on it, roll a little bit. And again, there's lots of different places out there on YouTube that can show you exactly how to roll different parts of your anatomy in order to get the best benefit out of this. So definitely gonna want to check into one of these. It hurts, I'm not gonna lie, it does hurt to massage those muscles with this, but in the long run, it's going to feel so much better afterwards. It's going to get blood to the parts of your muscles that need to be repaired. So this is something that you'll want to check into. Or another route that a lot of runners are taking is using some sort of a massage gun. This is the one that I use. This is the Lyric Massager, which was one that I won in a giveaway. I'm going to have a link to where I reviewed it, told you a little bit more about how this works. This is what I use. There's tons of massage guns that are out there. There's big ones, there's small ones, there's expensive ones, there's relatively cheap ones. So yes, this is going to cost more than just picking up a foam roller, but if you're able to get a massage gun, then I would definitely check into it. These are very good for getting specific parts of your muscles that maybe you can't reach with a foam roller. So these are really good for really digging into the sore places, finding spots that really need a massage and really need that extra blood flow. Or you also have the option, and a lot of runners swear by this, of going to a sports masseuse. Find someone, not necessarily just any masseuse, but specifically one that works with athletes and knows exactly how to help them recover after a run so that they know exactly where to get those massage points in. They can help you figure out the best way in order to get your body to recover. So if you have the means to do that, there are a lot of runners that absolutely swear by it. And finally, the most obvious one is going to be just rest. Your body has been through a lot, and so take the time to just sit down and let your body do nothing. Just let your muscles rest and repair the way that they need to. Now, when it is time for me to rest, does that mean that I just sit on the couch and not do anything at all for days at a time? No, that's not what it means at all. I will spend some more time in a seated position, or maybe with my legs propped up, spending some time actually just letting my body recover. But I still am up and around and doing quite a few things, which leads me to my next point. Let's talk about how to ease yourself back into running again. How soon after running a race should you start running again? Now, if you are a person who tends to run fairly often and you've done a shorter race like a 5K or a 10K, then you should be able to run within a few days. I have done 5Ks before and I'm totally fine doing a run the next day, and that's just because I'm used to running almost daily. If I have done a 10K with maybe a harder effort, and again, I'm someone that runs at least 5 or 6 days a week, then that's something where maybe I'll take one day to just kind of rest and the next day I'm back to running. If you are not accustomed to running every single day, then you may want to give yourself just a little more time to recover. Now, when I'm looking at a longer race, a half marathon on up, then usually I will give myself a little bit more time. Usually for a half marathon, I'll give myself about 4 or 5 days of not running. And for a marathon or ultra marathon, then I'm usually looking at least a week of not running. Now, does this mean that I do absolutely nothing during those days that I'm off? Absolutely not. Usually what I will do is, even though I am not running, I will go out and I will take a walk, or I'll get on an elliptical, or I'll get on a treadmill, anything that is easy but keeps my legs moving. Sometimes people will go for a bike ride, maybe they will go for a swim. You'll do the kind of things that you'll do for usually your cross training, but just take it at an easier pace. So you don't necessarily have to sit and let the couch grow under your butt for a week, but you can get out and get your legs moving without the stress of actually running. Typically during my rest period, I will also cut out strength training as well. I usually will cut back on the strength training and then eliminate it completely during my taper. And then I will start phasing it back in once I'm able to start running. Also, as I am bringing strength training back in, I will usually do things that will focus on my upper body and not so much on my legs. So I'm not out there doing squats, I'm not doing lifting or anything like that. I'm trying to give my legs the best chance of recovery because usually they're the ones that need the most recovery. And then once I am more comfortable with starting to run at least a 5K or so every day, then I will get back into the strength training as usual. As far as when I know I'm ready to start running again, like I said, with those longer efforts, I will usually give myself about a week. And usually I can feel as I am taking walks during the week, I feel that little bit of stiffness and heaviness in my legs. And as that starts to leave, I may start to think to myself, okay, maybe I'm ready to start running. And then usually about the last day or so, I try to check in with my legs and see exactly how they're feeling. Like, do I feel like my legs are made out of concrete? And if not, then I'm just about ready to start running again. I really try to give myself time for a full recovery before I get back into the stress of training once again. So there you go. That is just a little bit about how I approach recovery, starting with the moments after I cross the finish line all the way up to about a week or so after training when I start slipping back into a regular training schedule. Do you have any questions for me about my recovery process? What are some things that you do in order to help yourself recover? I know a lot of people do things like ice baths and things like that. Is that something that you're familiar with? Is that something that you've done? What are some different things that you do in order to help you recover? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below? This is your second reminder that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the running content that I have coming out all the time. You can also follow me on social media. All the links are down in the description. You can find me across all platforms under the name Running Geek Girl. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so glad you're here and I can't wait to see you next time. Remember to laugh hard, run fast, and be kind. See you next time.